Good morning, everyone. Leah Dixon here from Port Coquitlam, British Columbia. I am live today with another card class to go. It is Sale-A-Bration right now, which is honestly the best time of the year to stock up on supplies for your craft room, grab some new items, and of course, get some free items. This week's card class, just like last week, features one of our free Sale-A-Bration stamp sets. And this time I've paired it up with one of our online exclusives. So if you are a customer of mine who loves to go through your catalog, we have some great stuff there, but you really should be checking out the online exclusives as well, because we have some absolutely gorgeous product that did not make it into our catalog, but is available for purchase on the website. So I'm going to switch over to my desktop and get started showing you guys some of this great stuff. As you pop on, if you want to say hi, I'd love to know who's here and stamping along with me, or at least watching. So this is what we are creating with today. So this is the Pick a Season stamp set from our Sale-A-Bration brochure. You can earn this stamp set for free with a $75 purchase. And it just has this great tree image and a little smaller branch. Some leaves, some grass, a fence, some clouds, and then little elements to decorate your tree with. So that is kind of the featured item on our cards today. But to make them just a little bit more interesting, I have actually paired them up with our Everyday Arches bundle. And this is from our online exclusive. So the bundle comes with the stamp set with these awesome arching sentiments, and some that don't, a few little images, and then the arches, all of these layered arches, and they are absolutely fantastic. So we're going to be using these a lot on our cards today. Now, as a full suite of products, there are some embellishments and everything that go with it, but the piece that I chose to focus on with it is the designer series paper. This is called Everyday Skies. And so we have nighttime skies, sunsets, sunrises, beautiful blue sky, daytime papers, and then just some nice little watercolor washes and stuff. So absolutely beautiful designer series paper to go with all of this. So that is the product that we're featuring today. I'm going to get started crafting now so you guys can see exactly what I've done with this stuff. I'm going to put those off to the side, and I'm going to bring in our first card for today. So it's just a really simple little card, actually. Just some pool party background with a sweet little tree and making a lovely thank you card. So I'm going to show you how quick and easy this one is to create. We're going to start just with our card base. I'm just going to grab my bone folder and flatten that a bit. So we're going to start with our base here and our little cloud. Oh, I am very short on blocks at my desk right now. Oh, very, very short on blocks. Yikes. Okay. Well, let's swap this one out and we'll do this. So I've got my sweet little cloud, and I'm going to get some Balmy blue ink. So although my background here is pool party, I actually find that when I work with pool party, my preferred ink is Balmy blue rather than pool party. I find that pool party ink looks a little bit green, whereas the Balmy blue is close enough that it works. So we are going to just go a little bit above halfway and start stamping some clouds. We're going to try and keep the bottoms of our clouds pretty horizontal and just do a whole bunch along here. And I am stamping off my page. I'm stamping going up higher and just kind of working it like that. So I like that for a little pattern for my clouds. I am also going to stamp some clouds on what will be the insert in my card. So this card does run horizontally, so do make sure when you're stamping that you've got your papers lined up the right way. And I'm just going to do a few in here, like that, and one more there. And so this is just the inside of my card, and I've just done a few little clouds at the top of the insert for my card. All right. If you wanted to, you could do some on your envelope as well. I think I'm going to do something slightly different for my envelope though. So now that I've done that stamping, I can actually glue this insert to the inside of my card. There we go. And make sure you get those clouds going the right way. There we go. So we've just put that inside, and now we can put that off to the side for a few minutes. And I'm going to grab my 2 die cuts that will be in your card kit. So if you place a $75 order with me, you will earn this stamp set or whatever stamp set you want for free. But because this is a card class to go, I will also mail out to you the pieces that you need to make 2 of each of today's cards. So you'll get these 2 shapes pre-die cut. And let's grab our cleaner. So you will need to have your own inks and stamp sets and everything at home, your own chamois, all of that. But you'll get all your cardstock and embellishments and stuff like that. Okay, so we are now going to grab, let's see, where did I put the stamp set? We're going to grab the thanks sentiment from our Everyday Arches. There it is. And I got the thanks sentiment from our Everyday Arches. I'm going to pop that onto a block. It looks like I'm going to have to clean up another image here. I've got stuff all kind of set up over on my other table for a card class this Saturday. So all my blocks are in use over there. I guess I'm going to have to grab some more blocks because it's kind of a pain when you want to do some stamping and everything's in use. All right, so I'm going to grab my Night of Navy ink up that image, and stamp that right onto my little Stylish Shapes banner. I love the font, and I love how it looks in Night of Navy. It's so good. All right, now I can put away Night of Navy for a moment, and I'm going to grab my tree image now. So my tree image is actually 3 parts, which makes it really easy for stamping. We've got the leaves, the trunk, and then the flowers all separate. So I am actually going to start with my leaves. I'm going to grab some Granny Apple Green ink. Grab my leaves here. And you'll see that there's kind of like one sort of bigger opening. I'm going to position that so it's down near the bottom of my card. And aside from that, I'm going to try to put kind of an equal border on all 3 sides of my leaf image. There we go. Now, with that done, I am going to grab my early Espresso ink, and that is what I'm going to stamp the trunk of my tree in. Now, I've got a whole bunch of other things on here. I'm just going to move them off. Okay, so I'm going to ink up my early Espresso tree trunk. And then when I stamp this, I'm coming all the way in so that the tree trunk goes right up to kind of the 2 larger leaves in that opening that I had. Now, before, actually, I guess I can finish my stamping and then I'll show you the little trick to this card, because there is a trick to this card. Let's see, let's clean this one up. So now I'm going to put my flowers, actually I'd like them on a square, so let's clean up those clouds. Okay. I'm going to put my flowers on a little tiny square block. grab my Night of Navy ink, and I'm going to stamp my flowers into the 6 little openings that we have on our tree. There we go. So I just kind of twist them around and make sure they look like they're not going to go over top of any of the leaves on our tree. So there you have it. We have all of our flowers stamped onto our tree. Now I want to put this arch onto my card front, but as you can see, it's basically the same size as my card front, and I didn't want that look. So I'm going to show you a little trick with these arches. Not really a trick, but a little something that you can do. So I believe, yeah, that was the 4th largest arch that I used to cut this. And so what I'm going to do is, now that I've got my stamping done and I know exactly where everything's lining up, I am going to take my tree again, and I'm going to take the arch, put it on just the slightest angle, and I've lined up the arch over top again. Oh, good morning, Kim. But you can see I've left, I don't know, just shy of 1/2 inch down at the bottom. And I am now going to come in and die cut this again, but I'm not going to die cut much further than I have to. So I feel like that got the whole bottom, and that's all I'm trying to achieve, is to cut the bottom. I don't need any more than that cut, so I don't need to continue up the sides or anything. So that just cut off the bottom of that, but what it did is it left that little border. And if you look, yeah, I have one extra little dot. I'm not sure if you guys can even see it. There's one extra little dot of embroidery or whatever that is that goes down the bottom. It's not a big deal. It's not very noticeable. But what that does is it shrinks up our arch to the height that I want it to be. So we don't have to play by the sizing they gave us. We can create our own. And now you can see that that goes on with a nice little border top and bottom, and it just looks so much better. I don't know. I like it a lot more. So now when I'm looking at this, I'm noticing that my clouds aren't exactly, I think I want one more right there. So I'm going to grab my clouds. I'm going to be a little lazy. I'm not even going to take the other image off this block. And I'm just going to put one more cloud on my card front. So right about there. There we go. All right. That's how I wanted it. Perfect. Okay. So with that done, we can start putting our card together because we've got all of our pieces created. So I am now going to grab, I thought I had an open one. Oh, I do. Okay, good. I have got my Natural Tones linen thread. So this is actually a 3-pack of linen thread. You get the Garden Green, I think it's Cajun Craze, and Night of Navy in this pack. And I'm going to take some Night of Navy. I am going to wrap this around the bottom of my tree twice, and then trim that. There we go. Now, when I tie this, I'm going to take that one end and tuck it under both strings before I create my knot and tie my bow. And I do like to make a knot before I tie my bow. It just means that I don't have to worry about anything now. I can just focus on my bow. So bunny ear, wrap it around. And then we play with it till it's the right size. Okay, I like that. Trim that. Trim that. All right. So we have that done. I am now going to put dimensionals on the back of this and pop this onto my card front. So I've got dimensionals everywhere, but just partial packs. So we're going to use some of those up. There we go. All right. So when I put this down, I want to make sure that I can still put a sentiment to the right, but I really wanted to just have the clouds showing the way I wanted them showing. Now, when I attach my sentiment here, I'm actually going to only put a dimensional on the right-hand side. So let's just give these a little snip. So I don't want a dimensional on the left because it's going over top of my ribbon and that other layer that I've already got popped up and everything. So I'm actually just going to put a little dab of glue there just to help it stay in place. And I'm going to put this down so that it kind of lines up with the twine. So the twine's coming out of the center of the V on my label. There we go. So that is the basic form of our card. Now we can grab some embellishments and add some little bling to this. So I have got the adhesive back dragonflies and birds. So there's a few layers of dragonflies and then 2 different birds on here. And so I'm going to use some birds. Now I do find that when I use these, the Take Your Pick tool is really handy because that way you for sure pick up the adhesive with the bird. There we go. And I'm going to put this one up in the clouds and this one down here. There we go. So just adding 3 little birds to our card front. I use them to kind of fill in whatever gaps I feel there are on our card front. So your placement of them might change depending on how you positioned your clouds and your sentiment and everything. So that is the first card in my card class to go this week. So you'll get the supplies to make 2 of this card. And it's just a really sweet one. All right, our second card for this week's card class to go is kind of well, I don't know if you'd call it a fun fold. It's still just a regular fold, but it's a shaped card. So this actually has the arch shape to it. So kind of cool in that regard. Lovely, lovely card. So I'm going to show you how I made that one. So we're going to start with just a regular card base. And I'm going to have to go grab my big machine for this. This isn't going to fit in my mini. So you want your regular card base. You want the largest arch from the Everyday Arches set. Oh, thank you, Kim. Now, there's a piece of washi tape on here. You probably want a bigger one than that, but whatever. I'm going to make do with this. And I'm actually going to flip it over so I can't see the front of my card when I do this. So I'm lining this up so that just that very edge of the die that would actually make a cut is visible to me. I don't want it cutting my card. Okay, you may even want to use more than one piece of washi tape here just to make sure that it stays straight and does not cut any of the fold of your card. So maybe one kind of near the top and one near the bottom, because if you just secured in one spot, it could twist on you. All right, so I'm going to secure the bottom here as well. So I can fully see the cutting blade on here just sticking off the edge, so it is not going to cut my fold. And when I look at the front of my card, the die is fully on my card. So you see, we're going to lose a little bit of size to this card, but not too much. It's going to be okay. So I'm going to go grab my big machine because we need a bit more space for this. And here we go. I am going to run this through. So my card is folded and closed, and that die is not going to cut my fold, but it's cutting everything else. There we go. Now, when we open this up, and I'm just going to move these plates out of the way as well. You do want to be a little bit careful with your washi tape that it doesn't tear your card front or anything. We want to make sure that that did cut through where we wanted it to. You'll see we did get the stitching as well. And now this is where we want to be a little bit careful. Is just popping this off and peeling back our washi tape. We want to go slow so we don't tear our card. There we go. Beautiful. Okay. Now, my plates were clearly just a little bit dirty. So if you have a glue eraser, just come on in. And if you do get some stuff on your card from your plates, clearly I need to give them a little clean. You can just wipe that up with your glue eraser. All right. And then, voila, I have my card. It's still sealed on the edge. I do have a little piece there that I think I'm just going to trim with my scissors. There we go. All right, so we have this gorgeous card front that is now shaped like an arch. And we have the stitching on the inside of our card as well, which is a really nice little extra feature. Okay, so that was kind of the trick, the hard part to this card. The rest of this comes together quite beautifully, quite easily. Okay, so what do I need next? In your kit, you will receive another arch that is die cut with this beautiful pink paper with the pink birds on it. It is also a full arch size. We're not going to glue that down yet though. This is actually where we're going to do all of our work. All of our images and pieces are going to get attached to this before they get attached to our card base. So we're going to take another arch here and our sentiment. Now when I put my sentiment on my block, I actually grabbed the arch. Let's just see, is it that one? Yeah. I actually grabbed the arch that I was using and I placed it down to make sure that my sentiment fit inside. And so you can actually kind of wiggle your sentiment around and move it around because it's pliable until it perfectly fits inside your die. That way, when you go to stamp it, you know it's going to stamp properly. If you don't do that, there's a chance that it could look a little crooked just because, you know, it does have a wiggly end. You can kind of move it around. That's also what makes it useful for the different sizes of arches, because you can kind of change the curve a little bit. Okay, not a lot, but a little bit. So I'm going to ink this up with my Night of Navy. Okay. And it's getting ink everywhere. And then I'm going to take this, and before I put it down on my card, I'm really taking a look. I am kind of using the eyes, the dots on the eye, as a guide for where to stamp this image. And there we go. You are simply fantastic. It's the perfect card for anybody. All right, so with that done, I am now going to take this layer and I'm gluing it right into the bottom left-hand corner of my arches. So instead of kind of creating, so these arches are cool because they're all, what's the word for it? Like they're concentric, so they decrease in proportion. So you could literally just die cut these and stack them up and layer them up, and they make the perfect, like it'll keep the equal border everywhere. But that wasn't the look I wanted. I wanted something a little bit different. I've seen a lot of arch cards doing that. It looks really cool, but I figured you guys had seen that. So we're going to do something a little different. Oh, thank you, Kim. So this is going right down into the bottom left-hand corner. And then I have a little arch with blue sky and clouds, and all of them are going to look a bit different. On the original card, it was maybe a little bit of a lighter blue and a bit less cloud. But the idea is you want something that's blue with some white cloud on it. And we're going to glue that down to the right-hand corner. So they kind of flip-flop. Now, if you get here and the way you've stamped your image, this arch is covering up your sentiment, go ahead and use that little trick I showed you before and trim some off the bottom of your arch so it can drop down just a bit lower. All right, so we've got a trick in our back pocket in case our sentiment doesn't line up perfectly. So no need to panic. And if you don't have the arches and you're just using the piece I send you, then you can do anything that has the stitch and just use it to cut off the bottom, or simply cut off the bottom and you just won't have the stitch. It shouldn't be a problem though. Okay, so we've got our layering arches now. The next thing we're going to do is tie a piece of ribbon around this. I have got here my Pretty in Pink 3/8 of an inch bordered ribbon, and I am just wrapping this around once, trimming this up, and again, like I do for all of my cards, I am going to tie a knot before I do any bow work. So I also don't worry too much about where my knot is to start with. I tie my knot so that my two ends are equal, and then I will shuffle it around to where I need it. But most importantly is that my two ends are equal, because that's going to create the best bow for me. Okay, now that's up even maybe a little too high as well, because it's almost over top of my Y. So you can just give this a little bend, and all of a sudden you can scooch that around wherever you want it. Okay, so now I might have scooched it too far over. That's okay. I'll tie my bow and then I'll move it back. So now I'm going to make my two bunny ears, wrap them around each other, and bows are a funny thing. You kind of just got to keep messing with them, pulling on the ends until they look how you want them to look. Sometimes they happen right away, and sometimes you really got to work for it. All right. Oh, I'm very happy with that one. All right. And I am just going to move it over the tiniest bit though. There we go. Oh, yay. Okay, so now I can trim my ends on that. I am making my ends pretty tiny on this one. I don't like it when the ends of bows hang off the bottoms of cards. All right, so with all of that done, I'm going to use a little mini glue dot. It's not on my supply list, but it is a supply that I think everybody should own. So I'm just going to pick up my dot with my Take Your Pick tool. I'm going to put it onto the back of the knot of my bow, And then I'm going to push my bow down where I want it, how I want it. And that is going to keep it from flipping around on me and moving in a way I don't want it to. All right, with all of that done, we're now going to adhere this layer to our card front. You can use liquid glue for this. You could use, oh, isn't that pretty too? Oh my goodness. You could use liquid glue for this. You could use tear and tape, Seal Plus, like whatever you like using for gluing. Now, I like liquid glue because I don't have to get this perfectly straight right from the get-go. I can wiggle it into place and then be happy with it. It stresses me out when I think I have to lay it down perfectly because that is not a forte. Now, this little corner looks to me like I didn't get enough glue on it and it's going to keep popping up. So here comes the glue dots to the rescue. I think I should maybe just always put glue dots on my recipes because I always use them. Okay, so that is our card front created. Now we still have our beautiful card that opens up and we can finish this one. So this is kind of the most complicated card of the day. We only have one last thing to do though, but it's a biggie. We are going to create our tree for the front of our card. So just like we did before, I like to start with my leaves. So we're going to stamp our leaves in Granny Apple Green again. And then we're going to stamp our tree trunk in Early Espresso again. Here we go. Oops. Let's see, how good am I? Oh, yay. All right. I don't recommend doing that. If you really messed it up, you could always flip it over. That would work too. Now, we are going to stamp our flowers again. You could use the hearts instead on this one. There's also Easter eggs and shamrocks that you could stamp on this card. I am going to use my flowers though. Oh, I cleaned up my cloud, but I didn't clean up my flowers. I am cleaning them up because this time around, instead of stamping them in Night of Navy, I'm going to be stamping them in Pretty in Pink. So Pretty in Pink is one of our in colors. It's actually a returning color as well. And it's a gorgeous pink and it matches the DSP and the ribbon we've used. So that is why I chose that color. So here we go. And just like we did before, just kind of try to line them up so that you don't end up stamping flower over top of leaves. All right. Let's see here. Let me click that. And there. Okay, so we have our sweet little tree, and now we get to, sorry to all of you who don't like this, we get to fussy cut our tree. There's no die for this one, so we're just going to come in with our snips and as detailed or as non-detailed as you would like. So you get to decide how closely are you following these little leaf ends, how much border do you want. That's all completely up to you. I'm leaving just slightly more than 1/8 of an inch border, and I'm not being super detailed. I am following some of these little curves though, so it won't be like just a circle around. So just like that. Hopefully it's not too noisy in the background. Today is the very first day that Port Coquitlam is doing glass pickup. We got our buckets earlier, like just before Christmas, and today is their first pickup day. Before that, we had to take it to the recycling depot ourselves, but I'm hearing it crashing in the background. Kind of scared me the first time. Yeah, it's so nice. We used to have to, we save it up and then take it to the big glass bins over at town center. So this is nice. Okay, here we go. A few more. There. And then down our trunk is nice and easy. Now, one thing to always remember is that you really don't want to be moving your scissors a lot. It is really more the paper that I am wiggling around. Okay, there we go. We have a beautiful tree. Now, this tree is going to go onto our card front with dimensionals. Just don't cover up your sentiment is kind of my only suggestion. Aside from that, stick it down however you would like. There we go. And there. And there. So I'm not doing too many because I don't want any to be where my ribbon's going to be. I feel like this bottom one might be. All right. And so I'm just making sure that it's not covering my sentiment. There we go. Now I have kind of this bigger space still up here. I am going to fill that in with the birds that seem to have disappeared. Okay, well, let's find them. So they're part of, oh, there we go. They're part of the Everyday Arches, one of the little images in the Everyday Arches. And I'm going to put those onto a block. Let's see, they should fit nicely on there. Beautiful. And I'm going to stamp them with Night of Navy ink in, like, just to fill in that kind of little space there. And then I am still going to add some golden birds as well. So I'm going to stamp these so that this guy kind of feels like he's swooping down. There we go. Beautiful. Okay, so with those stamped, I am going to grab 3 little birds still. Where did I put them? There they are. 3 little birds with my Take Your Pick tool. And so I'm going to pop one down here. Like that. There we go. And then in my sky, I'm going to put one there. And one there. All right. So those are my little golden birds to finish decorating my card front. So really fun shaped card. And then if you wanted to, you could stamp like some birds on the inside. Oh yeah, I was going to do that on my last card. I was actually going to stamp these birds onto the envelope of my last card. So you can use those little birds to do some nice decorating. And it's just, yeah, pretty little card. The gold and the pink go so nicely together. All right, so that is the second card that you will get to create in this card class to go. And our final card, I think this is my favorite one, is this beautiful deep colored navy and gold tree. I just love it. And of course it's got the dragonflies, which are my favorite as well. Okay, so we have got our card base, and I'm actually going to stamp on the insert as well. Let's clean up these little flowers. We don't need those anymore. Clean those up, and I'm going to put on this block, instead of the flowers, I'm going to put the little stars from our Everyday Arches stamp set, and I'm going to use them to stamp Night of Navy stars across my Night of Navy card front. Now, these stars to me are kind of directional. You want them sort of like standing upright. And I'm just going to try not to stamp twice every time I put it into the ink because it's really not necessary. But I'm just trying to kind of create a random little design here down the side and keeping those stars kind of upright. Okay, now I don't have to do too much. Like my instructions say to cover the whole thing, but realistically, it's not the whole thing you have to cover. It's the edges, because we're going to be putting a big piece of cardstock in the middle. It's really just the edging that we have to do. And you can always flip this around as well and do it like that. And you don't really have to do the left side because like so little of it is going to show, but I did. So I'm going to again, but very little of this part actually shows. Okay, a little bit more here. All right, a tiny bit more there. Okay, so that should be good. You can always check it. Where did I put all those pieces? Oh, they're there. You can always check it by just taking the piece of cardstock I've included, and yeah, so that's going to cover it up just nicely. Oh, that's really hard for you guys to see. So yeah, you can see my stars fully go into the area that's going to be covered. So I don't need to do the middle. With that done, I will move it to the side and I'm going to stamp some of my other pieces. So you've got a piece of basic white in your packet, and I am going to grab, let's see, I need, uh-oh, I just lost a cloud. Thanks. Okay, pick that up. All right, I'm going to be a lazy stamper again. I'm going to put my hello onto this block that's already covered in stuff. I'm going to put it on the other side. And I'm going to ink up my hello and put it down in the bottom right-hand corner of my white layer. And let's see, I'm going to need those. Everything else is fine. All right. I'm going to wash up these guys so I can use my square block again. Okay. I'm going to put my hearts on there. All right, I'm going to clean my tree trunk as well because I'm going to stamp my tree trunk on this card. But this time, instead of having an early espresso tree trunk, we're going to have a night of navy tree trunk. And for the first time, I am stamping it before I stamp my tree top. I want my tree trunk to be at about the same height as my hello and just beside it. Okay. So that's done. I'm going to take my insert now since I have my night of navy out. I'm going to grab these little hearts and I'm just going to put a few little hearts on the inside of my card. I'm actually just going to do one little bundle of hearts and that's it. And I think that's it for navy blue stamping. Okay, night of navy can go away. This can get glued to the inside of my card base now. You might want to put a few hearts on your envelope too. I guess it depends on who you're sending this to. Maybe you want to stick to stars. I don't know. There we go. Got that done. I can also glue my designer series paper to this. So this one, I am doing these gorgeous pink and purple clouds. And this is just a 2" by 5 1/4 inch. So it doesn't go all the way to the top and bottom. So when I glue it down, I'm going to leave an equal border at the top, bottom, and the left-hand side. There we go. All right, so we've got that done. Now I'm going to take my hello. I'm actually going to grab a scrap paper right now so I don't have to clean up my glass top. And I'm going to get that balmy blue ink out that I had before. And we are going to add some blue to our card front. So now, I mean, you could do this balmy blue. You could do a light layer of Night of Navy. My blue is always just a little mottled because I keep one blending brush for all of my blues. So it's never truly a pure balmy blue or Night of Navy or anything. But the idea is you want a blue layer on here. It doesn't have to be perfectly smooth or dark or anything. Just kind of gives it that wispy, like there might be clouds in the sky kind of look. All right, so I'm really not doing too much to that. Now, that layer can get glued to the piece of Night of Navy cardstock that's in your kit that matches up with it. So there we go. It just gives it 1/8 of an inch border. So we're going to glue those together, and then we're going to glue that whole piece straight to our card front. So far we've just glued all of our layers. No dimension yet. Come on. There we go. This is why I love liquid glue so much. There. And then this also gets glued to our card front. And this time I kind of tried to center it. Tried being the key word there. All right. Now okay, so with that done, we can start creating our treetop now. And our treetop is going to be created on a piece of Night of Navy cardstock. So we're going to get our leaves and give them a good clean so we don't get green ink into our Versamark. Okay. Got a good clean. I'm going to put the lid on my glue. I don't actually need it anymore. And I'm going to grab my Versamark now. And if you have it, I highly recommend grabbing your Embossing Additions toolkit, using your embossing buddy to go over that piece of Night of Navy. And then we are going to ink this up in Versamark. And oh, I should get my hearts ready as well. So get your hearts clean as well so you can do this all in one go. So my hearts are clean. Okay, so I'm inking my leaves with Versamark. Doesn't really matter how I stamp this as long as it's fully on the Night of Navy paper. Squeaky clean, that's right. There we go. Now, you guys probably can't see this, but I can. I am going to use it to stamp my hearts on here before I do anything else. So I haven't embossed this at all, like put anything on this, heated it up or anything. I'm working fairly quickly so that I'm working while everything's still wet. And with my leaves Versamarked and my hearts Versamarked, I am now going to take my image and put gold embossing powder on it. Okay, a little bit more. There we go. All right. Now, I'm not too worried about any excess around this because I'm going to be fussy cutting this image. So with that done, I am going to grab my tweezers that are part of my Embossing Additions kit. That tray that my gold was in is also part of the Embossing Additions kit. And I am now going to heat this up. Beautiful. Oh, I love that. All right, so that is our golden treetop now. It's so pretty. We get to fussy cut this, and just like when we fussy cut the tree on the last card, you be the decision maker. How big of a border do you want? How fussy do you want your fussy cutting to be? It's really going to be up to you and how fussy you want to be with this. So I am doing a slightly smaller border on this one than I did on the last one. And I am being a little bit fussier in my cutting, just because I feel like the Night of Navy is quite a heavy color, and so I don't want too much heaviness hanging off around my golden leaves. I want to keep this tree really bright and fun, not heavy and dark. All right. So come on in here, all the way down to my heart. And so you can see some of my hearts are on top of my leaves. It actually, I think it's okay. I didn't want the hearts to really stand out too much as being hearts. I just didn't want to use the flowers again. And I think it's one of those cool things, like you might not even realize at first that there's hearts on the tree. And then as you kind of take a closer look at the card, it'll show up and it'll be sweet, a sweet little surprise as you start to look at the details. Because when you stamp them in a different color, then they really, stand out and it's obvious there's hearts on your tree. But when they're all done in gold, then it's one of those little subtle details. And if you didn't want any kind of flowers or hearts or Easter eggs on your tree, they do provide you with some little leaves that match up with the leaves of the tree, and you could just fill the holes with leaves. You got 2 different sizes of leaves, and you could do that. So then you could kind of, use 2 different tones of green to get some interest in your tree, or you could just use the same green and make it 100% just a lovely treetop. All right, now that little spot where my tree trunk is going to go, I am making sure to cut up into that space and like really create the details in there. All right, so there is our treetop all cut out. And we are now going to add it to our card front. So we're going to bring that back in. We're going to put some dimensionals on here and add that back onto our card. So I'm just going to cut up some edges here. All right. Oops. There we go. All right. So I'm going to attach that, kind of making sure you keep your tree on your card front. It's definitely off to the left, but you want to keep it on the card front. And I am now going to embellish this one. And for the first time, I am using my dragonflies instead of the birds. Now use these to really fill the space. So however your tree got positioned, use these to fill it in. There we go. And that is our 3rd card. Oh, thank you, Kim. Yeah, this one is my favorite. I thought maybe because of the dragonflies, but it really, the colors are so beautiful. And I don't know, that golden tree, there's something just beautiful about it. So that's the 3rd card from this week's card class to go. I don't normally do more than one in a month, but it's celebration, so, why not? So there we have our 3 cards from this week's card class to go. So to get the things that you need to make these cards, you need to place a $75 order with me using my host code that is in the description of this video. And then you'll earn your free Sale-A-Bration item. So make sure you pick the Pick a Season Sale-A-Bration stamp set if you don't already own it. And I will mail out the card bits and ribbons and embellishments and stuff that you need. I do have a full list of supplies that you need to create this. So it lists like the Versamark and the metallic embossing powder, the different ink colors I used, all those things that you're going to need at home. And you can use those items to create your $75 order to get your Pick a Season stamp for free. So that is this week's card class to go. You have until next Tuesday night to place your order using my host code, and then I will cut all the kits next Wednesday. Yeah, so that is it. I'll be back. Well, actually, I'll probably be back before next Wednesday. Whenever my paper pumpkin arrives, it has shipped. And depending on how the weekend goes, I might be back on Friday night as well because I got the new birthday kits, both the bags and gift card holders as well as the birthday cards. And they are absolutely gorgeous. So I want to create those. So I might as well create them with you guys. So watch for that. That'll be just dependent on my energy levels at the end of the day on a Friday. Yeah, so that is what's going on around here. Sale-A-Bration. It's a great time. If you don't have your catalogs yet, make sure you contact me so I can get them to you as soon as possible. Sale-A-Bration is a limited time. It only runs until February 28th. So you want to get in on that as soon as possible. All right, have a great day, everyone. Bye.